Hey, my name is Goacher. I'm a graduate sports therapist and strength and mobility coach. Today, I'm going to be talking you through the 9 ways to create a healthy, pain-free lower back. Whether you're looking to find ways to become pain-free from your lower back pain, or you're wanting to build your body for the future, I'm going to cover 9 ways that you can create a healthy lower back, be pain-free and stronger than ever. If you've experienced lower back pain, you'll know that virtually every movement that your body can do involves your back, whether this is sitting, standing, bending, lifting things, twisting, turning. You'll be able to feel this in your lower back, in your back in general, and especially if you've had pain in that area, whether it be acute or chronic. This can be some of the worst pain or discomfort that you've ever suffered, and you just want it to end. So with that being said, we're going to start with something called activating the glutes. So what are the glutes? In other terms, they are your buttocks or your bum, however you want to call it. But the glutes are actually, or are supposed to be, the prime movers for any hip dominant movement, such as bending or squatting. Prolonged sitting, or as we kind of know it today, is a sedentary lifestyle, i.e. sitting for a long amount of time can cause what is known as gluteal amnesia, which essentially means your glutes go to sleep and they essentially switch off. This can be quickly changed, and we can get those glutes working effectively again. When we have this weakness or muscle imbalance in the glutes, it means that the lower back can turn from a stabilizing joint into a mobilizing joint, which can cause either acute or affect chronic pain in the lower back over time. There are 2 good prime moving exercises that you can do that will work the glutes and activate them for your session, especially if you're squatting, you're doing a movement that's bending a lot. So let's think about deadlifts, hip hinging type movements. We can do these 2 prime moving exercises that I'm about to show you that will help your lower back, whether you're still experiencing lower back pain or you don't want to experience lower back pain. The first of the 2 movements, we're going to do a fire hydrant. So you're going to have to be down on all 4s for this position. I'll show you through it now. So in this all 4s position, we're just going to put all our weight through our hands and through a supporting knee or supporting leg. We're going to lift one leg up, and then we can bring it out, twist it back in. If you find difficult, if you find yourself that your body's leaning a lot and try and take the weight through the side, we're just going to lift up into a glute kickback. So you can really try and switch this one up, kicking back, bringing it out and all the way through. You can also change this where we go that way out, back in and through that way. So the next one we're going to do is a glute bridge. So we're going to be lying on our back with our legs bent. In this position, we're really focusing on driving the hips up towards the ceiling, pushing through our feet and our shoulders being the 3 pillars that we're pushing through. So when doing the glute bridge, ensure that you're really driving through the hips, squeezing the glutes at the top of the range of motion. Everyone might be different with the amount that you can get. Just keep persevering and you'll be able to get the full range of motion and really activate the glutes at the top of the movement. Now we've activated the glutes, one of the strongest muscles that we can that surrounds the lower back, let's also try and mobilize the lower back as well. Again, there's 2 exercises that we're going to focus on. We're going to do a cat-cow, which essentially will enable us to mobilize the spine, the hips and the shoulders. And we're also going to do the world's greatest stretch, which, as it says on the tin, does every single sort of joint and movement as a great mover to do in general anyway. So let's go into cat-cow. So again, on all 4s. On all 4s, we want to try and find where we sit at neutral. So for me, this is where I feel comfortable. Now we've activated our glutes and we're feeling nice and strong within our hips and our lower back. We're going to now try and mobilize around the lower back and the lower back partially itself. So the lower back normally is a stabilizing joint. The joints are nice and close and they're nice and strong together. But we're going to try and get as much movement off the body to separate those joints and create space in this area as well. So we're going to start by doing the cat-cow, and we're going to move on straight into the world's greatest stretch. So to do the cat-cow, we need to remember to bring the chin towards the chest. Imagine we're a puppet on the string in the middle of our back being pulled up and away as we push our hips forwards and through. We're then going to reverse that. So with that, we're going to tilt the hips the opposite way, bring the head up to extend as high up as it can, and pushing the stomach towards the ground. There's different variations of the world's greatest stretch. This one, I'm going to show a regression of that. So we're going to be in a kneeling position, making it easier to get into the full stretch and feel the real benefit of the movement. Now we're going to learn how to hip hinge, but hip hinge effectively. So we want all of the movement to be coming from our hips, and for the lower back especially not to feel any pressure or tension. So everyone's going to be different. We're going to work through this nice and slow. So we're going to have our feet just past shoulder width, or they can be within that shoulder width stance if you'd like. What we want to be doing is putting our fingers just on the bony part of the pelvis here. And we're going to essentially just push that backwards as much as we can. And using that hinge, think of a door on a hinge as we're trying to create this motion with the body. So pushing that back as much as you can. You'll feel a stretch down the back of the hamstrings. You might feel a stretch into the lower back, and if you've got lower back pain, that's where you stop. If you can get as far down as you can, keeping the back nice and straight, and we just want to have a nice little softness in the back of our knees so we're not too rigid. So the knees are starting in a nice soft position, not too bent, but just where that tension's taken off the knees, pushing through the hips as far as you can and coming back up. And what we want to do is feel a gradual stretch coming on through the back of the hamstrings and nothing through the lower back. We're going to build on the muscle, the transverse abdominis. Now this is known as essentially our body's own weightlifting belt. If you've ever been in the gym or seen anyone there wearing a belt when they're doing a big heavy lift in the gym, this is the internal, our body's weightlifting belt. It's there to keep all our guts and everything in place. It's really deep lying muscle within our core. So how we're going to activate this and how we're going to create that nice strong TVA muscle, the transverse abdominis muscle, is in a supine position, and really we're going to focus on breathing and trying to really contract those lower, the transverse abdominis muscle, which is lower within our core. So it comes down to a lot of breath work and taking it nice and slow. And one thing that you need to think of is imagine you're bracing your stomach as someone's about to punch you in that core area. So let's have a go at trying to work and contract and activate the TVA muscle so that we can create this stronger midsection. So now we're in this lying position. We want our knees bent and our feet just in front. We want our back to be nice and relaxed against on the floor, similar with our head. Nice and relaxed position here, lying down. Like I said, we're going to focus on breath work. So take a really big breath in, trying to expand as much through the stomach as you can. We're going to hold this for a second, and then a big breath out as much as you can, and imagine you're going to get punched in the stomach. So you're going to brace as much as possible right at the end of your breath. So it will look like this. and breathe in again. And we'll just slowly run through this. So a big breath in to really expand through the stomach. Breathing out, really letting go of that breath. Once you get to that end of the breath, bracing in that position, holding that for a few moments, and then resetting again. Similar to the transverse abdominis muscle where we were focusing on bracing to work the core muscles itself, let's focus now on just bracing through your movements. So whether you're squatting to pick something heavy up from the floor, you're going into a deadlift, you're simply just trying to move something heavy or move in a way that you struggle. Now let's think about bracing the body and bracing before that movement and learning the 3-step protocol to do throughout that movement. So let's talk about the 3 steps that we're going to follow, and then I'm going to run through how exactly you do that. So number 1, we're going to think about taking a big breath in, expanding through the stomach, and really trying to expand and hold that breath using our stomach muscles. Number 2, we're going to act like we're going to get punched. So we're going to try and cue those muscles internally up and to hold that, to tense the core as one. And third, we're going to squeeze the glutes as much as possible. So I'll go from the side so we can see this. So we're going to take a nice big deep breath in. We're going to cue up and then we're going to squeeze in through the glutes. Cool. And just practice this. So this is you bracing, getting ready for a heavy lift, for a heavy squat, for a heavy deadlift, lifting a heavy piece of furniture from around the house into a different position. Building on the other steps that we've already learned and we've already gone through, now we're going to try and learn how to build muscular endurance in the lower back. And we're going to do this mainly in the form of the bird dog exercise. Yes, we could go into more hierarchy exercise lists such as deadlifts and squats, where they're a bit more complex. This, we're going to again be on the all 4 position on the floor where it's fairly comfortable and fairly easy to get down to, and we're going to have lots of point of contact. We're going to make this more challenging through the bird dog exercise, reaching up with one hand or one leg. We can regress this so it's just one leg or one arm moving at one time, or we can make it harder by having the opposites move at the same time. We're really going to be working the lower back, all the muscles down the spine, that TVA muscle, the transverse abdominal muscle that we've just been working on through the bracing movements. We're really going to be working that whole core area, that lower back, and especially the joints around it, i.e. the hips and the shoulders at each end of the back. So now again on all 4s, we've got good pillars of contact, so good points of contact here. We're going to lift just our left arm to begin with, and then we're going to lift that right leg, and we're going to hold that there. And this is essentially your practice. So you would just do this on both sides, lifting that right arm, and then separately lifting that left leg up nice and straight behind you. Now we're going to combine this. So this is now a full bird dog movement. And I really want you to think about, again, that bracing structure within the core that we've just been doing, and working slowly through this movement and feeling for where the body is unbalanced, unstable, and again, working to see that we're not struggling with pain through this exercise. So both at the same time now, opposite arm, opposite leg, reset. And we'll just stay on this side. We want to be focusing on doing this exercise at least 20 times on both sides, so an accumulation of 40 reps in total. And this is really going to build that muscular endurance around the lower back, and it should become a lot easier over time. If you have lower back pain, the last thing we want to do is compress the spine even more. So this is where I advise to stick away from doing lifts in the gym or any heavy other lifting that you would have. So if you move furniture for a living, probably best to stop or stick to the light stuff. If you've got a heavy desk that you need to move yourself, asking a friend or finding an easier way to move that so we're not compressing that joint even more. And especially if you're a gym goer and you want to continue lifting, avoid heavy barbell squats, front or even back, to start with until you build up that strength. Likewise with deadlifts. We don't want to be compressing that joint and making this even worse. It's going to really trigger your pain, even if it's not directly during that exercise. Post exercise or the next day, once you've slept on it, the body hasn't been able to recover, and through that movement you've triggered that pain off again, and your lower back is just going to be in absolute bits. So avoid any heavy lifting, especially compression of the spine. It should be sort of, without saying it, it should be sort of known, but a lot of people continue to do this and it triggers, and they try and wear those weightlifting belts when really we need to go back onto that step that we've just done, where we're bracing that TVA and working on the TVA muscle itself, rather than just continuous pulsing down and compression on that spine. I thought I'd sit down for this one because this could also be one of the problems that's stopping you from creating that healthy, strong lower back. Sitting for too long, like we said at the start, you might get that gluteal amnesia, where you sort of get that numb bum and you lose that strength in the glutes. It's also the same for compression. We're in a compressive state, and no matter how you sit, you're just going to be changing that angle of that compression to whatever suits you. So here's what to do. Try and take as many regular breaks as possible. Try and use, I've got a standing desk, switch in between a standing desk, a sitting desk, and again, use a timer, use those breaks to be able to switch between standing and sitting, and just moving as much as possible throughout your day. We don't want to be sat for any longer than half an hour or 60 minutes, depending if you're at work or if you're at home. Trying to move from position to position, even if you are having to be sat down for a long amount of time. Can you move one leg up, switch that 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later to the other leg? Can you have something where you're moving your legs whilst you're sat down? Just trying to move as much as possible and not be sat down for too long will really help your lower back pain, create a stronger and healthier lower back after that too. And if you've got lower back pain, one of the best things that you can do is go for a walk every single day, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or even longer. Obviously, being outside would be even better, but if you can't and you have to work, then buy yourself a walking pad or a treadmill where you can set your laptop up and get to work and get that much needed exercise and movement that will help you decrease that lower back pain, become stronger, and increase the blood flow, and just overall general health will just fly through the roof once you start walking and being more active throughout your day.